Travis and Madison realize that Nick was right and that he's not crazy, the world has gone crazy. Alicia comes home to her boyfriend Matt, but the door is wide open, the house is a mess. Then she finds Matt bitten, who already has a temperature of 39.4 and a fever. Alicia, not realizing the danger, tries to help Matt and wants to send him to the bathroom, but she can't even touch him because he is in pain. At this time, Madison, Travis and Nick return home at full speed and decide that they will leave the city. Travis calls Elizabeth and tries to find out where Chris is and says there is no time to explain. Madison calls Alicia and tells her to pack everything she needs and be ready to leave. Alicia talks about Matt's illness. Nick turns on the radio, where they talk about the frequent cases of shooting and strange behavior of people, but no one says anything concrete. They arrive at Matt's house. It soon turns out that Matt Cushon. Madison and Travis persuade Alice to leave with them, but she categorically refuses and wants to stay with her boyfriend. But Matt says his parents are coming soon, and Alicia has nothing to worry about, so she goes with her parents. Then all four of them still go home, we leave it alone. When they arrive home, they see the Cruz's neighbors celebrating their daughter's birthday. Joanna tells that no one came to the party because of illness, but invites the Clark family to visit. Nick becomes ill due to the abrupt cessation of taking drugs, and Madison goes for medicines. Travis goes in search of his son. Alice is left alone in Nick's care. Travis arrives at his ex-wife's house and finds out that Chris is simply not at home. On the phone, he learns from Chris that he is in the center of a riot against the police, which was staged by ordinary passers-by who watched the police shoot and kill a zombie homeless man. Not realizing that the victim was dangerous and infected, the crowds think that the police killed an unarmed man and completely lost their temper and start protests. Chris is at the center of these events. Louise turns on the TV and finds out the street where it all happened, and she and Travis go in search of their son. When they arrive there, they still find Christopher, and the police shoot another zombie girl. After that, larger-scale riots begin. All three take refuge in a nearby barbershop. At this time, Alicia tries to break the promise she made to her mother and goes to Matt when Nick begins to break down and vomits on the floor, and Alicia has nothing to do but stay at home. Madison returns to an empty school in search of supplies. In the principal's office, she finds the keys and unexpectedly meets Toby's, who comes to school for the same purpose. They're taking supplies. Toby shares his thoughts that everything that is happening is the end of civilization, but Madison still believes that everything that is happening will end soon. Returning the keys to the offices, and suddenly they hear strange moans on the radio. Toby's learns that these sounds are made by someone infected. They run out into the corridor and see a zombie Artie. He goes to Madison, but Tobias, who is more informed, respectively, is more aware of the danger, tries to protect her and starts stabbing Artie, but it does not harm him and he attacks Tobias. A struggle begins, and they roll down the stairs. Madison takes out a gas cylinder and kills the infected Artie. Maddie and Tobias leave school. Madison drives Toby's to his house and offers him and his family to join them and go out of town together, but Tobias convinces that he will be fine. Madison returns home and gives Nick the drugs. At the barbershop where Travis' family is hiding, they meet the family that owns the salon, Daniel Salazar, his wife and daughter, Griselda and Ophelia. Travis calls Madison and says they're stuck in the middle of a riot. Alicia and Madison watch from the window as the zombified Peter, their neighbor, attacks another neighbor, and she screams all over the street. Alicia runs out into the hallway and wants to help her, but Madison stops all attempts by Alicia and closes the door. Meanwhile, the riots become even more widespread and the sheer horror begins. At Salazar's barbershop, Travis, Lisa and Chris are waiting for the riots on the street to subside. Chris grabs the razor, to which Daniel tells him to put it back. While Travis and Daniel are discussing what to do if Haas gets inside from outside, Chris touches the wall and tells the group that the walls are getting hotter. They realize that the neighboring building is on fire, and they need to escape. When they open the door, several rioters enter the premises to loot and burn the business, ignoring the 6 as they leave unharmed. Out on the chaotic streets, Travis, Lisa and Chris watch as a zombie policeman deals with a riot policeman lying on the ground, and no one pays attention to this creepy scene. They carefully make their way through the riots and decide to get to their truck as the police have flooded the area. As they make their way through the scaffolding, firefighters point a hose at the rioters on the scaffolding, causing them to collapse and clamp Griselda. The 5 pull her out and put her in the truck. They decide to take her to the nearest hospital for emergency treatment. Arriving at a local hospital, they see that the area is cordoned off by armed police, who surround the building and shoot infected patients coming out of it. They hear on the radio that a state of emergency has been declared in 11 states and that the National Guard is called to deal with the unrest. All flights have been suspended to contain the spread of the virus. Lisa suggests they go to another hospital, but Daniel says that the others will most likely have the same problem, and asks them to go with Travis to his residence, where he will call his cousin to pick up the family. As they drive to Madison's house, they witness electricity being cut off in the city and fires burning in the darkened streets. Meanwhile, Nick, Alicia and Madison are trying to pass the time while waiting for Travis to return. After a short game of Monopoly, Nick raises the question that Travis may not return home. Alicia warns the family that something is happening on the street, when suddenly they start knocking and scratching at the door in the backyard. Nick opens it and discovers a German Shepherd dog, a coat that is stained with someone's blood. They take him into the house, and the dog starts barking furiously at the front door. Nick looks out the window again and sees the animated corpse of Peter Dawson on the street, stumbling towards their house. Nick remembers the weapons that their neighbors have, and they leave the house to go after him. They enter Patrick and Susan Trent's house, which turns out to be empty. They search the house and find a shotgun and some cartridges that they use. Alicia looks through the curtain and tells Madison that someone has entered the house. Through the window, they see the infected Dawson eventually killing the dog. They keep looking and sees a car that comes to them. Madison realizes it's Travis, and they quickly leave to warn him that there's a dead man inside. Travis arrives at Madison's house, accompanied by Lisa and Chris and the Salazar family. Madison, Nick and Alicia rush to get to Travis before the zombies. Travis discovers a human figure, twisted and making disturbing noises. When the lights come back on, he recognizes Peter, who is eating a dead dog. Travis tries to talk to him, but is attacked. Madison, Nick and Alicia quickly get home, but on the way Nick realizes that he forgot the shotgun cartridges from the neighbors, and Alicia returns for them. There, taking the cartridges, she notices the creaking of the door, discovers the zombie Susan Trent and quickly leaves with the cartridges. Madison enters the house with a gun and is about to shoot when Travis, still trying to restrain Peter's undead, tells her to put the gun down. Daniel takes a gun and, when Travis retreats from the zombie, shoots, shooting off part of the zombie's face, but not killing him. Everyone watches in shock as Daniel shoots a second time and rips the zombie's head off. Chris runs out into the street, as he is sick, and Travis, in disbelief, asks what just happened. Alicia hurries to her house, but gets lost in the maze between it and the neighbor's house. The zombie Susan grabs her, but she manages to escape and reach the fence separating her house and the neighbor's house, but she is grabbed by the zombie Susan when she jumps over the fence. Chris hears her cries for help, pulls her away from the zombies, and they both fall backwards. Alicia is angry at Chris because he grabbed her by the waist during the fall, and she elbows him on the nose. Travis, Madison, Nick and Alicia watch Susan come to life through the fence. Madison claims that she feels bad, and Travis asks if she was bitten. Nick intervenes, stating that she is not sick, but dead. Alicia panics, realizing that the same thing happened to her boyfriend Matt that happened to Susan. After talking about Daniel's cousin coming to pick him up the next day, and Madison's protests about spending the night at the house, Travis goes to get rid of Peter's body. Daniel suggests using gasoline from the truck to burn the body, as he believes the disease will spread from the corpse. Travis refuses, claiming they don't know how it spreads. Returning to the house, he talks to Lisa, who says that when Griselda's leg was crushed, the tissues began to die. And the infection caused by this will spread throughout the body, eventually causing organ failure and subsequent death, and that they can do nothing. In the bedroom of the house, Ophelia tries to convince her father to go with Travis' band, but he refuses. Madison watches the zombified Susan, who is trying to get through a wooden fence. Lisa starts a small conversation with her, in which Madison tells her that if she ever becomes like Susan, she will take care of her so that Travis doesn't have to do it. The next morning, Travis buries Peter and takes out the trash while watching one of his neighbors do it. He sees Daniel teaching Chris how to handle a gun, and is very unhappy, saying to Madison, "You know how I feel about guns." "The gun doesn't care how you feel about it," Daniel replies. Before they leave the residence, Madison says she has one last thing to do. She goes to the fence, which Susan is still trying to get through. She wants to kill her, but Travis tells her that there is a chance that she still has some of her humanity and that a cure is still possible, and she decides to spare her. Daniel, watching from the window, mutters that she is weak. Ophelia still tries to convince him to go with Travis' group, but he refuses, stating that in such situations, good people die first. Griselda supports her husband's actions and says that the two of them have been through much worse. Travis' group is preparing to leave town quickly. He leads the group through the empty streets, with Madison riding behind him. She watches the army helicopters flying overhead and sees Patrick, Susan's husband, who has returned from work. Madison turns the car around and chases him. Travis noticed that Madison wasn't there. Patrick calls Susan, but gets no answer. He finds her revived body and is amazed at its pale, dirty appearance. Despite this and Madison's warning not to touch her, he tries to hug her. The bullet hits her in the head just as the rest of Travis and Madison's group and members of the California National Guard arrive at the scene. Security guards take Madison, Travis and their families away from the scene, while Patrick mourns the death of his wife and is quickly taken away. Soon after, we see that the National Guard is all over the neighborhood, and one of the guards examines the residents of the Madison house and tells them to stay in the house. Madison approaches two security guards to ask where they took Patrick. They ambiguously answer that Patrick was covered in infected blood. One of the guards asks if anyone in Madison's household has been infected, to which she quickly replies no. The guard notices a newly formed mountain of dirt where Peter was buried and asks about it. Madison replies that our dog has died. Meanwhile, Nick hides away from an unknown house and tries to get inside through the window. A little girl from the next house witnesses his actions, scares him and playfully waves her doll's hand at Nick. Nick waves back awkwardly and stops the hacking attempt. Leaving, Nick hears the sound of an airplane engine and a loud explosion and, looking up into the sky, sees a commercial airliner descending and turning dangerously, seemingly out of control. Watching as the National Guard on the streets of the district throws body bags into trucks and draws crosses on the house of the Cruz family, Travis is full of optimism and declares that everything will get better from now on. However, inside the house, Daniel Salazar does not share this feeling and ominously tells his wife that it is too late.
Be afraid of the Walking Dead.